Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure, as always, to be your host on Hatside Confections under motto, tidbits of wisdom that we share, or I share, by the fireplace with my guests. I would like to ask you at the onset to support this program by sharing our videos, liking our page, and leaving comments, even suggestions of some of the things you would like us to speak on. Facebook, Ndumodo, Ndumodu. As a matter of fact, let me show you what that is. There you go. Heartside Confections. We're on Facebook. Please like my page and leave lots of comments and for future discussions. It is my pleasure today, before we go into anything, to bring one of my very special people, my guest, Simone Ajamu, an entrepreneur, mother, and every woman. So, welcome, Simone. How are
Hello.
you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Very
You're
good.
doing great. You know, one of these days, I'm going to swallow my pride and beg for some of that hair. You've got some beautiful hair, and
Thank you so
mine is nowhere. That's all right.
much.
But thank you for joining me this morning. Uh,
Thank you
we
for
have a
having
very
me.
interesting show today. Oh, it's always a pleasure. You're always so geeked up and full of energy and lots of wisdom. So it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. For the rest of you who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Wanyo Husimiri, and I'm your host. And I would like to, before we go any further, just welcome some individuals who have joined us. Nosferatu, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Matt Lewis and Dewo, thank you for joining us. And as we go along, as people join, we are going to, welcome them. So, Simone, we have a very interesting show today. But before we go into it, I think it's important for us to give a shout out so to some African children who are doing some exceptional things. Okay, I want to share this video. This frame. Let me add this. Okay, it's supposed to add. Well, let's try that again. Sometimes this thing has it's there we go. These are some young black kids who invented products that has brought innovation to science. So the young woman that we're going to be discussing today has issues with being a black girl and feels that being black is a negative thing. It keeps you from being successful. Black people are stupid and all of that. And she's ashamed of being black. So she considers herself white. But I'll play the video and, and you draw your own conclusions about this child. But it is important to note that there are so many of them doing things, adding things. Sometimes when we get into Black history, we always show history of the elders, the adults who have done some creative things in the world. But we don't always talk about the young kids who are doing some awesome things. Let's talk about some of them. Uh, this young woman is 17 years old. And all over the world, her concern is that infections at the site of surgical incisions are a major cause of new illnesses, even extended hospital stays, and some people die after having surgery. So these infections cost so much money, as a matter of fact, as much as 3 billion annually, and even worse, statistics in developing countries show that many people die after surgery because infections set in and nobody knows when the infection is started. So what she has done is she's created something that at this point of the incision that would detect infection before it happens, or at least the doctors can tell that area is infected. and that saves lives. Okay, and so she is working on more affordable so that in the developing countries, people can have access to it, because usually what is available is extremely expensive, in the developed countries. But in non-developed countries, it's so expensive that they don't use it, and a lot of people die unnecessarily. So that's what this young woman is working on, and she's only 17, and she's Black. And then another young man. This is Tanisha. I mean Deja. I'm sorry. This is Deja. This young woman here I'm pointing to. She was 17 when she started her quest to find something that detects infections. Then at 17 years old, there's a teenager who began studying oil. And when it's left on the ocean surface, what happens to that oil? She discovered it. She discovered that when oil hits the UV rays from the sun, it reacts to form chemicals that are become carcinogens. Okay, that's the young lady right here. All right, and her name is Kiana Cave. Cave, I think she's from Louisiana, so I don't know if I'm saying her name quite well, correctly rather. Today, she's turned her work into 2 scientific papers. This child is 15, and 2 patents for chemical methods of detecting carcinogens. She's also launched a startup called Mare, which is working towards a way to disperse them so that they aren't left on the surface. This girl has garnered, she's Black, about $1.2 million in funding, which is about 860,000 pounds. She's Black. Then there's a young man named Tony Hansbury. He's a doctor in training. There is Tony Hansbury right here. She's the founder of the surgical procedure called Hansbury Stitch. Hansbury's surgical technique has proven to be efficient, so much so that doctors everywhere are using it. This child is only 14 years old. Well, he was 14 when he started. I think he's now 20, and he's going to be a doctor. He's entered college, and his technique has basically improved efficiency with which surgeons can close wounds. He's Black. Then there's another young man, this young man right here. His name is Taylor Bishop Curry. He invented what is called the Oasis at age 11, which senses if a child is left in the car. The Oasis alerts family and police and lets them, and then keeps the child cooled. It blows cool air on the child until help comes. All right. This was as a result of a young child who was 6 months old, who was left in his block, and the child died in the car. So it prompted this little Black kid to create the Oasis. So now it's being used to save lives. So parents are buying it and leaving it in the car just in case. Human nature is such that you quite easily can forget, as human beings do. So you may forget that you left your child. I was watching a video where a man was in such a hurry, had a meeting, but he was supposed to take his child, to daycare. He forgot. He left the child in the car, and the child ultimately died in the car, in the garage. Now, can you imagine being such a parent? So it's a little bit, now hopefully the future will be fair to say that this young man, Taylor Bishop Curry, remember that name, was the one who invented the Oasis that everybody is going to be using. Well, he's asking for $50,000, but he has done more than that. So he's prepared to put his invention into action. So you see, the reason why I had to say that, I had to tell you about these people, was to make it clear that when a child does not feel that their race is a plus, or feels that their race is a handicap. All right, it is because of a mental situation. Okay, the young woman Treasure has this sense that being Black is a bad thing. She wants no association with being Black. Now, some individuals say maybe she's not telling the truth, but anybody who would in any way, for whatever reason, want to depreciate, want to speak ill of their race, there's something causing it, even if it's in jest. She supposedly said all these things to get on television. All right. But just remember, the fact that she even thought about using such a thing means that somebody thinks that being Black is a negative thing. And for her, it was just absolutely not something she didn't want anything to do with. So, Simone, I'm going to play the video so you can watch this little girl. And after that, we'll have a conversation about it. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Straight hair. My hair isn't nappy. It doesn't.
Okay, let me start it.
I know a lot of people take issue with my beliefs. I'm white. I'm a Caucasian because everything about me is different from an African American. I have naturally straight hair. My hair isn't nappy. It doesn't require weave. My nose is not giant as like African Americans. My lips are perfect. They're not too big and they're not too small. Like, they're just perfect. My ears, I don't have Black people ears because they're really giant. Most African Americans speak ghetto, but when it's the Black people, I think they're all ugly and I have nothing in common with them. I'm different from African Americans because I'm white. My figure is just like Kim Kardashian, and she's a wonderful role model. I act and I think like a white person instead of a Black person. I believe that I'm completely and utterly better than them. Like, we're on two different levels. Like, okay, African Americans are here, I'm here. White people act and think just way more mature than African Americans. Black people, they think in a criminal way. When I think about African Americans, I feel like asking them, what is wrong with them? They're really dangerous. If African American is on the same street as I am, I'll cross the street to avoid their chaotic, thuggish ways.
Are you okay?
I'm irritated.
I'm sorry.
I just know that I'm white. I mean, she might not know that I'm white, but I know that I'm white. I can feel it through my veins. I feel it through my blood. I tell my mom I'll never be like any of those Negroes. My mom tries to criticize me about my supposed race. I tell her she's just ignorant. There's nothing wrong with my views or beliefs because I have freedom of speech and everything I'm saying is true.
Okay, Treasure, how are you this morning?
Pretty.
let's just kind of pause. Now, think about that. This is a Black child speaking in public on Dr. Phil's show to the world that being Black is ugly, being Black is bad. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that? Simone, what are your
I
thoughts?
think that
I mean, I don't even know where to start.
I think that it's an extreme example of how many of us feel in the inside as African people, because we have the depiction of beauty is not seen as us. The features, everything is not seen of us. The only difference is she is voicing exactly what a lot of Black people feel in the inside. When you see African American women and they can't wear their own hair, they hate their hair, and you see that they wear weave, all the time, and not only weave, but they'll wear a hair that looks like a whole nother race of people. And I'm not saying nothing is wrong with weave or anything like that, but where the problem comes in, and we had this discussion, some of my colleagues a while back, and one of my colleagues stated to me, she said, I don't even start wearing weave because I don't want to take it off. I don't feel beautiful anymore. I don't feel, attractive without the weave. So this young lady is just expressing what a lot of us really feel inside, because our depiction of beauty is Kim Kardashian or the white girl. I remember when I was a child, we would put towels over our head to and
Mm.
pretend we had this long flowing hair like Caucasian girls or other races of girls, because that was depicted as beautiful. Good hair and bad hair. You always heard that this person has good hair, this person has bad hair. It's just a different texture of hair. And you heard that growing up from your elders, you heard that from adults. And so I remember times even growing up, hearing relatives talk about, oh, this child has real bad hair. I can't do nothing with this hair, or the hair is nappy or whatever. And so she's wanting to fit into the image of, the image of what is depicted as beautiful in many of our societies in here in America and all over, you know. And this has become, even though, so she's seeing herself, if you say on the psychological level, she's seeing herself as what is acceptable in our society, because we are not properly represented in media or anything else at an early age. And so that's where
So,
I come from.
the reason why I had shown, and you're right, everything you've said is very correct. The reason why I talked about the little black kids doing exceptional things. What sets
Mhm.
them apart from a child like Treasure? What makes a little black kid now focus on color? What could, I mean, they see the same thing. They live in the same world. I mean, our society portrays the same thing on television. But why is it that those kids are not focused on skin color, but more on the use of their minds? What do you think contributes to paying more attention to what you can do as opposed to what your physical being is? What do you think?
I think that has to be ingrained at a very early age. Um, Ingraining, and like with my children, I tell them that they're beautiful, that their hair is beautiful, that who they are as pretty much how they look naturally is beautiful. And so I feel that we have to have very solid um, solid foundation when it comes to our children and developing their self-esteem and who they are. And sometimes I don't know about Treasure's mother. I don't know how she feels about herself. But a lot of times, how we feel about ourselves will come off to the children. So I don't know how her mother, feels about herself and the things that she says about herself. That could have had a profound impact on how Treasure looks at herself. And
Okay.
just making an environment and creating because we don't have it in media, so we have to show our children at home the beauty,
Mm,
um
yeah.
depictions of beauty of people that look like us, and also examples of accomplished Black people, which we don't have. That we're not going to get it in the schools, so we leave it up to the schools or whatever. um will be lost.
Mm. When I lived in Rochester Hills, Michigan, we didn't have anything that celebrated Black History Month in the schools that my children were attending. And we had to push for that. I mean, let me tell you, when we had Black History Month program, it was we put everything out so that the black kids, there were so few of them, didn't feel so isolated. Now some people took offense, that you can understand, but we were determined. So some of us African American parents came together and we decided that our children needs to see something that represents who they are. Because you could pick up when your child feels that something is not right, or they become meek. I remember one time my son telling me that the kids were throwing things at him at school, and because there were so few black kids, he became quite introverted, and he accepted the abuse. I had to find out, and when I found out, let me tell you, it was time to do something about that. It was time to have some kind of representation. But let me bring the continue with this video so we can see what's going on with some of the reasons why this child feels this way. So I'm going to bring this to it.
How are you?
I'm all right.
That's great.
Now, you've been listening to everything we've talked about so far,
Yes,
right?
I have.
And is there anything that your mom has said or told me about that?
Let me go back to
How are you
what.
this morning?
Pretty great. How are you?
I'm all right.
That's
Now,
great.
you've been listening to everything we've talked about so far,
Yes, I
right?
have.
And is there anything that your mom has said or told me about that's inaccurate, incomplete, or that you want to add something to?
Well, I mean, actually, yeah. You guys called me delusional earlier, and I feel like the only people
No, I did not call you delusional. I asked your mother if she thought you were delusional.
Yes, well, you asked her that question. I would like to clarify the fact that I am nowhere near delusional. I'm actually very capable and a very intelligent person, so.
Being delusional and being intelligent are not mutually exclusive.
Well, I feel like if you're being delusional, then you gotta be some type of retarded. And I'm not that.
Well, I have two things to say about that. Number one, that's absolutely just simply not the fact. And number two, using that word is very derogatory. So I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't use that word.
Yeah, well, okay, well, I'll understand, only because I'm a very respectful person. And if you wish that I don't use that word, then I most definitely won't use it.
Okay, appreciate that.
Okay, no problem.
When you say that you believe yourself to be Caucasian, tell me why you believe that to be true.
Well, I know I'm a Caucasian because when I wake up in the morning, I just have such a great life. And that my hair is so perfect, my skin isn't ugly, and I'm not fat also, which is also a really African American thing. So, like, I'm just nowhere near like them. And plus, they're so thug and criminal that I can't relate.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, that's just so riddled with ignorance, I don't even know how to respond.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it to be insulting. Ignorance doesn't mean lack of intelligence, it means lack of information. I think you're confusing the concept of race and ethnicity, because race is really biologically determined.
I know I'm biologically white. I feel it through my veins and through my blood. I don't just think I'm white. I know that I'm white.
That is delusional.
Yes, yes, I totally
Oh my
agree.
God. I will tell you very honestly, if my child, if I was sitting there, my child is sitting there saying that show will be over. That show will be over. I think, that there's an argument that she probably just wanted attention, and this was one way of getting it. But then that speaks to the it talks about who we are as a people when anybody would actually choose to speak in that manner, because there are people who eat it up. There are people who believe it. She's not saying something that some people don't believe. Now, come on, there are some racists who actually believe what she's saying. Now, does she believe it herself? I don't know. But I know that she's speaking to an audience that laps that up and will make her a shero. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those who believe in what she's saying will think, wow, she's speaking, that's right. That's what I think about Black people. She's selling it like it is. And she may really believe it. I don't know if this child believes what she's saying. If Dr. Phil is grappling with trying to understand, you can get the audience have an issue trying to wrap their mind around that. But like you said earlier, the image that we see about African people have been negative in the past, but it has been changing. Let me read to what Nosferatu said here. She says, Black women are more natural and showing it more than ever now. Okay, that's wonderful. What do you think is leading to more Black people feeling more natural, more wanting to be natural? I personally, I have short hair. My hair is short, very short. I have short hair for a reason. First of all, I don't have time for all that fancy stuff. I don't have time to be spend all that time trying to pull and yank or go to the hairdresser. And I just keep it short. Besides, for me, it speaks volumes about how I feel about myself. I accept me. You know, I don't need to be validated. I don't want anybody to tell me anything that's different. If you tell me I look beautiful because I have a weave, you're not telling me I'm beautiful. I'm not saying you should wear a weave if that makes you feel comfortable, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if you're telling me, oh my God, I love your weave, and because of that, you want to be my body or whatever, or you shower me with all this stuff, all praise because my weave looks good on me. Well, it tells me you prefer me looking anything other than, and I reject that. I reject anybody complimenting me for putting anything that's not real on myself. Now, did I do it in the past? Simone, yes, I did, honey. I can tell you.
I did too.
There was you know what I'm saying? There was a time that I had to wear whatever weave I could find or whatever hair I could buy because I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to go anywhere and anybody focuses on my nappy hair or whatever they call it. But as I grew older, I realized, wait a minute, that's who you are. That's who you are. The nappy hair and all, whatever they want to call it's up to them, they whomsoever. But this is who I am. And I embrace it. And I tell you very honestly, when I started embracing all that I am as a Black woman, that's when I became more comfortable. That's when I became more expressive. That's when I could walk with, like I say, holy boldness. I became more bold because I accept myself. Our children need to have that sense of being. You are what you are because that's the way you were created. People's opinion about you must not be your reality. That young lady is delusional because people's opinion about her is what counts. She's seeing herself other than what she is. What do you think about that? You add your thoughts to that, what I just said.
And I think what I think is, what I think, just like you, even though I have a lot of hair, it was a time that I wore a lot of weave. Yeah, it's not, my hair is natural, but there was times that I would still wear wigs, I would wear weave, and trying to get that look, trying to get a different look than what is natural for me. And
is it to get a different look or to look European? Which one?
Well, it's definitely
to look more European.
To be very honest, if I'm being honest about it, is to look more European because the hair that I was getting was not the type of hair texture that is my natural hair texture, nor could I ever have that hair texture. So it's to get another, to get something outside of a African look. Because I even, like, one of my good friends, she said her daughter, she had not seen her daughter's hair. Her daughter's hair is just as long as mine. My hair is like is about, when I pull it down, it's about 24 inches, 24, 28 inches or something. Her daughter's hair is just as long. She braids it up and keeps a weave in it because she wants that particular hair texture. It's not even about the length or anything. She does not like the African hair texture. She doesn't like it. So what she does is you never see her hair. She's always in, to me, it's like a costume. When you think like that, you're in a costume because you're not showing who you really are. And then I've had conversations also with women, and they've said, I'm scared, like they may be dating or something like that. And it's a guy that they like and things like that, but they met them and they had the weave on. And they don't want to they're scared to take the weave off because they don't know how he will feel about them. And see, that is another issue, with, us as women, and you're trying to attract, say it's a man, or, well, you could say any man, because, we're not depicted. Our beauty is not put on a pedestal. So you're thinking my natural beauty is not going to work because it does not fit what society is saying is beautiful. So I've heard many women say, I'm scared to take my weave off. I don't know what he's going to think of me if I take this weave off. Will he still like me? Will he still be attracted to me?
So do you think, do you,
you know,
I just wanted to, do you think that, so what you're saying is that our perception of who we are also is influenced by what the men say to us? What
yes,
the men consider to be beautiful as
yes,
opposed to what we consider to be beautiful,
yes.
and
I
that's
think
very
that's
true.
something, yes,
You know,
especially
there
when
was,
you see, especially when you have there's videos. Every time you see a Black male, you'll see him with someone what he chooses, or
yes,
accomplished man, and what you see him with is someone other than what you look like. And so I think us as women, we'll think in our mind, what can we do to be more attractive to the type of men that we desire? And so we'll try to imitate and look like those type of women that they're so-called attracted to, and so it's deep grain, because even our men, you have a lot of our Black men, you have a Black mother that looks like us, but then you'll
yeah.
say you're not attracted to another Black woman that looks like us. So do you not like your mother? Do you not think your mother is beautiful? That's the
Well,
question.
they tell
That's
you
to
that's
me.
different. They tell you that's different. It's a different thing. That's my mother. Okay. She, so I love her differently, but when it comes to my woman, I want her to now let's because there are so many men who love their women the way they are. They are, as a matter of fact, there are so many men that demand that their women look natural, and then there's the other, there are the other ones who prefer that they have more European representation. If the skin is not light, then the hair has to be straight. But then on the other hand, you find that a lot of Black women, dark-skinned women with natural features, are loved by Caucasian men. All right.
Yes. Yes.
So you see, and so you find, and I find that since there was the movie 2 Years a Slave. What's the young lady's name? The one that played the slave. Gosh, I can't think. She's from Africa. I can't believe I can't
Oh,
think of
I
her
know who
name.
you're talking about. I can't remember her
But
name, but I know exactly who you're
okay,
talking about. Beautiful.
okay. Or any of you who, any of all my listeners, if you can give me the name of the young lady who acted in that film, 12 Years a Slave. She's very popular. She's very dark skinned and beautiful and always natural. And Lupita Nyong'o, Lupita Nyong'o. She talked about when she was a child, she was always told that she was ugly, she was too dark, and all of that sort of thing. And so she had this self image of herself that was very negative until she saw a very dark skinned model who, motivated her to embrace who she is. And of course, after there's it's a longer story behind all that. But after that movie, everybody admired her beauty and what have you. And once you start talking about something, you can actually, and it becomes mainstream. Before you know it, people have people start changing their minds. And she was quite her, but certainly other models and what have you, who were talking to young people and showcasing their darkness and say, hey, this is beautiful. Black is beautiful, and it is, and people need to be aware of it. And so, if you say to your child often enough that they're beautiful the way they are, they start believing it. Because the world is cruel out there. The world is going to tell the child something totally different. But it's good for her to come home, or him come home, and be told, that you're this, you're that. We parents have a lot to do with it. We've got to contribute to the self-esteem of the child. Let me continue this.
Yes.
Let me finish this. Let me take us back to see what this child is talking about.
Even though I have told you that your father was not your father and that you are actually African American,
You might be lying. I don't trust anything that anyone else says. I know that I'm white.
Ethnicity, on the other hand, has to do with whether or not you identify with a particular group in terms of their culture and practices, beliefs, religions, things that go along with that particular group. And that has nothing to do with race. Sometimes they can overlap, but not always.
Well, I feel like you're wrong. You're completely wrong. I know who I am, and I know my race, and I'm a proud white person. And there's nothing, I feel it through my veins, like it's literally in my blood. There's no way, I don't believe that I'm white. It's not my ethnicity.
Treasure, do you
it's my
accept
race.
Oh my God. Whew. Look, for that mother, I can see how she must feel. When your child there telling Dr. Phil, you're wrong. I know who I am. I am white. And I wonder, does that child look in the mirror? And then again, that's a wrong question, because she looks in the mirror. It's just that what she sees in the mirror is not what she wants to see. So she sees what, makes her feel superior, and
Yes.
that is the thing. The closer you are to the European look, or to the European mixed race or whatever, then people tend to tell me, you have a daughter, and share with us the experience that you have with your daughter.
Well, with my daughter, I live in a predominantly Arabic area, some Caucasians, but my daughter, she graduated from the high school here, and mostly around Arabic and white people, and it was very few African Americans there. But I will tell you, in the African Americans, what she was telling me is a lot of the African American boys were not interested in dating her or any of the other Black girls that were there. They wanted the light or really white people. And my daughter has a sister that is very, very fair skinned. So she met, she and my daughter mentioned to me, she said, well, the Black guys like her. They think she's beautiful. They don't like us, me, because I'm not light skinned, and they predominantly date the lighter or white girls, or the light Arabic girls, and they're not interested in her. So who is interested in her and thinks that she's beautiful is the Arabic guys. They think that her hair is beautiful. They think they ask her, well, how you get your hair that way? My daughter will wear an afro, and they just think, they go crazy when she wears her hair that way, because they think the texture is so beautiful. But with our people, that is why you had your hair like that. Why don't you do something with your hair? Well, she did do something with her hair. It's groomed, it's nice, but for them, other races of people, and even the white people are Caucasian, her Caucasian friends loved her hair. And they used to ask her, why don't you wear your hair like that more? Because my daughter would do different styles, but they just loved the African look. They appreciated her African features. But our own people, our own men, coming from a woman, does not appreciate all the time. I can't say all of them, but does not appreciate all the time the beauty that comes with the African woman. And that's why I think that we try to change to fit into what is considered beautiful in society. But they fully bought into it.
Yeah, and there are people who refuse to look, may I use that expression, black to go to work. You know what I'm saying? They because at work they don't fit in if they look black. And the thing about it that's sad is that you just trying to be who you are, trying to be a black person, that's considered radical. What makes me radical when I just want to be me? What makes me radical? But if I'm trying to be like somebody else, then I'm okay. But if I present myself as a black woman in my totality, right? Then it's like you said, they told your daughter, why you have your hair like that? Why you always dressing that? Like I like to dress African, right? As much as I possibly can. Why you always dressing African? Why you in Africa? You're in America. So what? Africa was born in me. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter where I go. I still represent African. There's a song I love with a passion. You probably have heard it. You should download it, and I play it all the time. It says African Woman. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because it is telling me and reminding me that you are beautiful, and for your men, for black men to tell black women you're beautiful, your skin is this, it's just gorgeous, it's just wonderful. So that young girl is not taking responsibility for acknowledging. I mean, she could not acknowledge that maybe she was wrong. It's sewed up in there that I am white and you guys don't have to accept it. This is who I am, and I'm going to be that. Now I understand. Her sister herself said that she faked all of that. This is all fake because she's on Instagram and all of that, and she's drawing a lot of scorn. But it's still a numbers game. It's still a numbers game. Whether she gets scorned or not, she's getting those likes or those activity on her page. So she's doing well that way. So you don't know if this the sister is saying no, she's just faking it. We're never raised to think that way. But somehow I would think that she's gone to the point it's become beneficial for her, whether she started faking it, right? But now it's yielding dividends, right? So now she's sticking with it, right? She's getting attention for it.
Yes.
So if I say now, who's giving her that attention? The attention. Who? People who actually believe that what she's saying is right. That black people are inferior. Those people are the ones who are encouraging her to continue to think that way. Go ahead.
And unfortunately, like you said, she's getting that attention. And unfortunately, it's like where this is where it goes wrong. It goes wrong with her character and what needs to be worked on. Not just the fact that she thinks she's white, but a character issue that you think you're better than other black people. That is where that needs to be checked, because Not only, okay, you think you're white, or you look at yourself as white, but why? Because you want to feel better than Black or African people. And that's where it all goes wrong. That is where it's wrong. And that should have been nipped in the bud. You know, if I don't know what her mom did or what provision she made, but that right there should have been nipped in the bud, because you're not better than anyone. Even if you were white, you know, even if she was actually white, you're not better than a Black person. But our society has shown that if you're of another race, you're better.
Mm-hmm.
You're better.
Yes.
You're more
Everything
attractive.
other.
You're more accomplished. You're smarter. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what she wants to, this is why she wants to be white. If white meant that you were at the bottom of the totem pole, believe me, she would not have taken on being white. I don't think she would have taken that on. It was like
No, I don't think so too.
Yeah, it was
Go
like
ahead. Go
an example of colorism, and I worked at an office, and it wasn't many of us. It was mostly Caucasians, and it wasn't many of us there. And everyone loved me. I presented myself as a Black woman, and that was fine, you know, with them. There was a particular woman. She was biracial. Her mother was Black, her father was white, but she never told anyone. Initially, she didn't tell anyone that she was biracial. She could have looked, you know, some other race. You just couldn't tell. So her mother comes up, and it was almost like she didn't want her mother to come to the office. So her mother comes up, and instead of her telling the people, the Caucasian people, my mother is Black, she said, "Don't be alarmed. My mother is
Oh
dark."
dear. Oh
Instead
dear.
of saying her mother is Black, she said, "My mother is dark." So that gave them, the Caucasian people there, they didn't like that. When I used to walk, you know, during breaks and lunch and stuff with, you know, a group of the ladies, and they said, "Well, why would she say that her mother was dark and she's Black?" They couldn't figure that out. But she does
And they
not want
shouldn't be alarmed.
to. Yeah,
And they
she did
shouldn't be
not want to
alarmed.
identify with the Black. What was it? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said she wanted them not to be alarmed that her mother was dark.
But she was Black. So when she said dark, because you couldn't tell what, you know,
Hi.
her race was. When she said dark, they were thinking maybe Western European. You know, some Europeans are darker, or, you know,
Yes.
dark, like, you know, that. Not Black. She did not want to say that she was half Black. She did not want to say that. And when I see her mother, she's a full Black woman. My complexion, you know, beautiful woman. Very nice. But she did not want to admit that her mother was Black. She would not say, she said dark. My mother is, don't be alarmed. Why would people be alarmed? Don't be alarmed. My mother is dark.
What about on the other side of the coin? What about the other side of the coin, where you have fair-skinned individuals who go through quite a difficult time themselves because they're fair-skinned, and then they don't fit in, quote unquote, in the Black communities, where you have they're not Black enough, and then they go to the white part, they're not white enough. You know, that does cause some struggles as well. And I've I personally, my grandchildren are mixed race. So I've seen situations where people fawn all over them. You know, I mean, in addition to that, you know, there is the fact that there's some of us people feel, oh, that the light skin is beautiful, you know, so they fawn all over, you know, all over him, all over them. I've had a situation where I took one of my nephews to the mall with my grandsons, and nobody paid any attention to my nephew who's dark skinned, but they were
Mm-hmm.
all fawning over my grandsons, and
Yes.
I had to tell them, I had to let them know that's not right. You don't
Mm-hmm.
do that. If you're going to talk, if you're going to say anything about how beautiful the kids are, there are three of them here. You
Right.
talk about all of them because they're all beautiful. So sometimes even community, family, we say things that make children feel bad. A chocolate baby is just as the most beautiful thing you want to see. Every child is beautiful in her own way. Light skin, dark skin,
Mm-hmm.
light, dark, whatever. They're all beautiful. They're part of that human tapestry. If we can just learn to appreciate them, then we can let them know that so that they can appreciate themselves. I've been at, I Kmart when it was Kmart. That was when I was in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this woman yelling, uh, the little boy, bring your black ass over here. That kind of expression. What do you think? What do you think he's going to think? When you
Mm-hmm.
say the word black in such negative terms, black as
Mm-hmm.
tar. I mean, this is not something that started today. It's been a age long problem, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's to the point now that if you see that it is impacting your child in any way, you should step in, or at least don't even let it in your child. You get to the point that the child is a little bit more cognizant about the environment. Start letting them know ahead of time. Because I gotta tell you, there was a little white girl, you probably saw that on television, who was so
Mm-hmm.
upset that they said she was white. She was trying to convince her mother that she's black. And the mother is saying, "You're not black, honey. Did you see that video?" I thought that was hilarious. Well, it was supposed to be hilarious, but it really wasn't, because the child was crying and she was insisting, I'm not white, I'm black. What made her think that way? Because maybe she's been around, some people who told her that she was too fair, or saying negative things about her race. Something. There's always something that will cause someone to lose respect for who they are. I've always taught my children, since they were born, I've always taught them to be proud of being African.
Mm-hmm.
Because they see all that negative stuff. But I always try to get them into the history of their Africanness so that they'll be proud of it. I can tell you, all my children are very, very proud of being black. You know what I'm saying? Because I insisted,
Yes.
it's not a matter of who you married, or it's a matter of who you feel you are. Okay,
Yes.
it's who you are as a person. What am I? Am I proud of who I am? My daughter experienced a lot of colorism in high
Yes.
school. Because we live. You live in Michigan, so you know how Rochester Hills is. I don't know how it is
Yes.
now, but when I was there,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, she had a difficult time. Because
Yes.
people were calling her names and all, and she initially, it impacted her, but she decided that she had to change things, and she started initiating Black History programs, just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Just so people can get away from this color thing and learn about
Yes.
the people you're going to school with. It's not all about
Yes.
the color. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason why we are different is not because of our own doing. Is because divine mind, the creator,
Mm-hmm.
sought to create this bouquet of humanity.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
beauty in all of us. I mean, I think I love to see the diversity. I love to see
Yes.
different people, but at the same time, I don't in any way, make excuses for loving who I am. I want you to love who you are, but I have to love who I am, because that's how I can exist, and that's how I can have pride in being around other people. Because sometimes if it's just you as a black person in a crowd, it can be awkward. That is awkward. It can be awkward if you're not proud of who you are. You get lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to
And
get lost and feel, oh my God, I don't belong. But if you're proud of who you are and you're sure of who you are, it doesn't matter what your audience is. It doesn't matter who's around you. You just conduct yourself as you are. I have Nos said, let's see. I've experienced colorism firsthand with my little ones amongst our own people, and it's sad. Yeah, you have if you're light-skinned black kid, then you have, like I said earlier, then you have black people who, say negative things, say you don't belong, all that sort of thing. So it can be frustrating for even the light-skinned people who could quite easily claim they are white, but they don't do that. Yeah, and then you see a light-skinned black person wanting to claim, that they want to be nearer their, if perhaps the experiences or whatever, or maybe a parent is black and maybe there's a connection there, then you find your own people saying you're not black enough. You know what I'm saying? And so that can be very frustrating. So it's not just dark skinned people, obviously, who have challenges. Even light skinned people have challenges for various reasons. But I think the
Yes.
most important thing is that we teach our children to understand that there's beauty in our diversity. I think the world would be a very boring place if we're all, if we look alike. I mean, that's just the bottom line. We just need to learn how to be kind to ourselves, kind to our neighbors, and not focus too much on the skin color. Just like I showed, I talked about those young people. They are not preoccupied with race. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you it's got something to do with what the parents have taught them or
Yes.
people around them have taught them, so that they've taken it out in society and it doesn't impact them. You know, I always say it's okay to be an idiot, but don't be. It's okay to be a fool, but don't be a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? Don't
Yes.
hug that right. Every one of us can be crazy, but don't hug the right. Don't be the craziest. That sort of thing. So it's important for us not to focus too much. Teach our children, don't focus. Somebody who has a problem shouldn't be somebody's opinion about you must not be your reality. The most powerful tool in the hands of an oppressor, Stephen Biko said this to young South Africans, and I keep repeating that, is the mind of the oppressed. And you can be
Yes.
your worst oppressor. It doesn't even have to be somebody else to oppress you. Some things that you've learned, some things you've heard, you can now turn it around as it becomes a weapon that you use to, oppress yourself. You know what I'm saying? So home
Yeah.
home training is important. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and you mentioned the lighter skin. My mother is lighter skin. When she was growing up, she was lighter skin and she had really long hair. But then her sisters, they were like a rainbow. She had a sister. Her sister, she has a sister that's more my complexion or a little bit darker, and then she had a brother that was darker, and they all went to Catholic school together. They were some of the only Black
Mm,
kids there. My mom
mm,
resented being lighter skinned for different reasons. As a Black lighter skin, she resented being light because she said that the white children, when she was going to the Catholic school, would say, "You're different. You're not like them," because she had long hair and lighter skin than her sisters and brothers. So they said, "No, you're not like them." And she did not. And then they would talk about, like her brother and sister and things like that. And
mm,
she resented that. She resented, and it made her. My mom said for a long time she resented being light because of those type of
mm,
reasons. As a whole, I think that we're hurt as a people. We've gone through a lot of trauma. It's a lot of trauma that any complexion of being a
mm,
Black person or a person of the diaspora. We've gone through so much trauma, and all that's happening is that we're responding to that trauma, and you can see it on the outside of us. How
yeah.
what we're wearing, how we're carrying ourselves, how we can tell, people can tell somewhat of how you feel about yourself. If you never see ever a person says, "I don't like my hair," or "I don't want people to ever see my hair," I don't think anything wrong with doing different things to your hair if you wear weave or things. But the problem
Mm-hmm.
lies when you say, "I can't take that off, because if I
Mm-hmm.
take it off,
That's a problem.
I'm not beautiful." Because like when I just like, when I was younger, I liked a lot of variety of styles. So that was part of it. you know, I would wear wigs, I would wear weaves or whatever because I like the variety of styles, but I also will wear my own hair, you know. So it wasn't to the extent that I couldn't wear my own hair. But for some people, they will not wear their own hair as a Black person because
and that's society. That's society. That's, you know, and we're part of that society. And I think that we can point fingers at different people doing whatever, but if we see something negative going on ourselves, you know, just like I told the woman who was talking about my grandchildren, I told her, oh, no, there are 3 kids here. We're not going to do that. You know, there are 3 beautiful children here. So if you're going to compliment mine, you compliment the third. If you're going to compliment these 2, compliment this young man, because you don't want him, first of all, you don't want to create him a situation where he's his cousins, right? And you don't want to create a situation where the cousins think there's something special about them over this other their cousin, you know. So we create all those things outside of the home. So it's not just in the home, but outside of the home, they see that. So I just in closing today, first of all, Simone, thank you as always. And you have 3 beautiful children. I love it. I'm going to tell you about, you watch that oldest girl of yours. She's going to be an attorney. I'm telling you, that is one smart little cookie. She will talk and follow you.
Yes.
She just followed me to make sure I heard what she had to say. And I had to sit there and listen to all of it. So that's a bright young woman who's obviously she's self-confident, and I'm sure it stems from what you and your husband do with him. I mean, with her, with all of them. I want to end with this. I saw a situation where these 3 beautiful Black girls were standing on a pole outside by a bus stop, right? And this guy walks up to them and just ignored the other 2 dark-skinned girls and started talking to the light-skinned girl. I mean, didn't even make eye contact with the other girls. Wow. And I thought those girls were just even lovelier. You know, they were just beautiful girls. And he didn't even look at them. He just started talking to the lighter-skinned girl. So my brothers and sisters, it's important that, specifically my brothers, you have a response. You are the man of the community. You have a lot to do with how your girls and your women feel about themselves. You cannot fault every woman for wanting to look different to please you. You have to determine for yourself, why do I not appreciate my woman? You have to answer to that, because your opinion matters to her. That's why she has to do all these things to please you. But I say to my sisters, the only person you need to please is you. And everybody else comes along. If you can't please yourself, if you can't validate yourself, and you're waiting for others to validate you, your children will see it. One way or the other, they will begin to feel badly about who they are. And it comes out way. I don't know quite what the parents had to do with the Treasure, that something has led Treasure to be the way she is today. Either she's faking it or not faking it, she's still using it to this day. So anyway, I love all of you. I love my dark-skinned sisters, light-skinned sisters, brothers, whomsoever. Your color is not what makes you who you are. Your mind, your behavior, and the love that you have for humanity is what makes you a decent human being. So, Simone, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Nosferatu and Matt Lewis, and also Kwame. Let's see, who is this? Moke, I think Charles Moke Charles Ukuna Charles as well, and then several other people. I can't go through all of it. So I want to just thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to having you again Saturday on tomorrow. Heartside Confections. Thank you and have a good day.
Yes,
bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.